Last week we had again our breakout groups, and we have been working with the question, what does the earth need from me? And, as I've said a few times already, as we are allowing ourselves to walk with this question as part of our practice, we are slowly walking into the answer by becoming the answer. And today I've brought a beautiful quote by Rainer Maria Rilke, who was an Austrian poet who lived in what's Czech Republic today. And he had a 19-year-old protege who was a budding poet. And Rilke, had a correspondence with him. He was called Franz Xaver Capus. And he writes to him, "I want to beg you, as much as I can, dear sir, to be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and to try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers, which cannot be given you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to leave everything. Leave the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer." And so that's the inspiration behind that instruction, of taking the walking and the allowing of the question as our practice, and then slowly becoming the answer. And it's never really finished until full liberation. And inside of that process, we can learn to trust ourselves to be expressions of this collective self-healing mechanism we call planet Earth, that we can connect with that. All of us, who are ready to listen in with their whole being, using the body as an organ for listening. That's what we are, trying to train ourselves in. And in that way, connecting with the self-regenerative intelligence of planet Earth. And, we can use symbols to help us, to supercharge that process. Because symbols allow people to go beyond what is known or seen by creating linkages between otherwise different concepts and experiences, and in that way, calling forth new ideas and associations. That's a real supercharging of dormant potential. And humans have been doing this since a very long time, since over 70,000 years. The first findings of abstract cave art is from 73,000 years ago in South Africa, and in Spain 64,000 years ago. That was a red hand stencil made by a Neanderthal in a cave in Spain. And then figurative cave art followed about 20,000 years later. And the first one, the oldest one at this point, is a drawing of a pig in Indonesia from 45,500 years ago. Just taking that in, So those symbols were used to bring forth, to bring something into existence. And we can do this too today, because art, can really lubricate our practice. And today I'd like to screen share in an image of the earth. Give me a moment. There we go. Let's just screen share this in now so we can looking at this image of the earth with the moon and the stars, and seeing, what does it do in your body when you see that, in your heart area? Is there any kind of response? Because this is an image, which we can put on our shrine, we can put on our computer. I have it on my shrine, I have it on my computer, and it's a constant symbol to remember that I'm part of a living, intelligent earth. And I see it many, many times per day, and I'm doing that since quite a long time. And I can sense, that mudita in my heart, based on cultivating those beautiful qualities of appreciation, opening, connecting, perception of beauty, deepening of connection, a sense of delight, a sense of belonging to something truly awesome and deeply mysterious and very powerful. And then over time, slowly experiencing the power of transforming how we view problems and open to growth opportunities of what has been brought newly into our awareness. That the earth isn't against us. We are part of a living, intelligent earth. It's a very different response. It's a very different way of looking. And from that very different way of looking, different responses will be activated in us. Because as I said before, symbols allow people to go beyond what is known or seen by creating linkages between otherwise different concepts and experiences, calling forth new ideas and associations, which before were not accessible. But then a piece of art or just a beautiful image like this can suddenly activate something new, a new connection, and then we can sense it. It makes sense. We can feel it in the body. So that is, a technology which we can all use, and people have been using it since over 70,000 years, starting with cave paintings. Because if we can, have this sense of connection, joy, perception of beauty is very deeply nourishing for us, and we can sense it in the body. It's a healing which is happening on a very deep level by simply, feeling the belonging, and we have enough. We can give. We are actually sensing a enriching depths of connection, and from that place, we can contribute with much more confidence and a sense of safety and groundedness in something so much bigger than ourselves. And this also, brings a purity into our view because of the openness and the clarity. Because it takes much more mental work, to be unhappy than to be happy and open. You can check it out, if you're really unhappy, we are constantly lost in thought about everything which is not working and so on and so forth. But if there's a sense of true happiness and delight and joy, it's just like an openness and a sense of having enough. So working with beautiful symbols like that can really supercharge our practice, our evolution. And I really recommend, that you make use of having a shrine for your practice where you can use symbols like that to support you. And they can change, from time to time. And it's a beautiful form of devotion and of using skillful means to open the heart. Okay, so let's now go into the meditation by finding a posture we can sustain for about 45 minutes. Arriving where you are right now and checking how you feel, having just seen this beautiful image of the earth in space. With the out breath, grounding ourselves in the knowing, that we are sitting in this beautiful blue planet, just above, wherever we are sitting in Europe or in America, we're always sitting above the center of the earth. And with the out breath, we can gently send down some roots, really deeply connecting with the body of the earth. And with the in-breath, breathing up the stability, the vastness of this body of the earth we are a part of. And sensing into the heart area, as we are all together in this earthworm practice, all of us, being interested in becoming more conscious that we are part of a living, intelligent earth, and that we can turn towards the earth as our elder. And that we have these earth bodies, which are made from the same elements as the body of the earth. And because of that, we have receptors. We can be in communication on this wordless level of sensing, which is, mostly turned down or even turned off through the conditioning in our culture, but we can remember it. We can bring it back. And that's what we are doing here in these gatherings. We are bringing those back online by cultivating the intention and encouraging each other and trying out different experiments, like looking at particular images, listening to particular medicine songs, or whatever else is gonna come as we are doing this. Because I also learn as I go along. It's an emergence. And we are all together in this. We keep it simple, but there's a constancy and a dedication, which, calls in a response. Hopefully, without much expectation, but a sense of opening and being receptive. Because the earth isn't against us. She simply wants us to listen and correct some of our behavior as a species, because it's not sustainable. And we also know that we are the youngest species and the most ignorant when it comes to the big picture coexistence. We are very good, intellectually at writing books about it and having these deep timelines, into the early hominids, and we know a lot about the first stone tools, and we know a lot about all of that. But obviously we don't seem to know how to live sustainably yet. But that's what's now being learned. We are now waking up to that. We can't really live separate from the earth. We need to make it happen together. And in order, to receive this deep communication, we need to attune, we need to become intimate again with the earth as a living being, not just as a quote unquote resource for our for our material fancies, really. So just changing the way how we look at what we see when we see an image of planet Earth. And then seeing what that does to us in the body, in the heart. And then the mind will hopefully follow. And just changing the thinking approach, rather than being concerned with what value Earth has for us. We need to find out how we humans can be of value to the Earth community. Let us just turn that around for the first time since a long time, since a few hundred years, Because simply it doesn't work that way. We have now gotten the message, or at least, people who show up here for this gathering, we have all more or less gotten the message that it's quite different from what we were thinking as a species the last few hundred years. And that's okay. We are a young species. That's how it works. Coming back to humility, coming back to the ground, humus, soil. By really, sensing into the vulnerability and utter dependence of the human state. And when we open up in that way, healing comes. And at the same time, a lot of projections and unresolved issues will be stirred up, for consideration and for digestion. This is why we need to do this together. It's like clearing out, clearing out old stuff which has been unconscious for a long time, and now it comes up and is seen for what it is, digested and integrated. And that's not going to be necessary easy all the time, of course. But it can be done. And we can trust into this stream of aliveness, which we can sense in our bodies. That this is the medicine. That this stream of aliveness carries more and more wisdom than our thinking minds. The wisdom of humility, and simplicity, and then the doubt and the fear which comes up, if we are tapping into that trust, maybe it's all just kind of a funny idea, or like a trying to get back to some romantic ways of looking at indigeneity. And then again, maybe it is really true, and there's this back and forth. And that's part of the purification process. And then again, can we see what's going on all around the globe? In that sense, our ego gets challenged, and as we are opening up to the earth as our elder, as our teacher, and learning to perceive ourselves as earth again, not by going back, but by coming full circle. And bringing with us everything we have been learning. And maybe some things need to be let go of because they are not worth it. They are just wasting our time and wasting precious lives. And in that way, adjusting more to what is possible. So this is a sense of intimacy and intuition. And I have a few times said this quote by Suzuki Roshi: not knowing, not having a concept is most intimate. If we are directly with the experience without words. And of course, using language, to support, to bring our body, mind, and heart into that into that attitude of open receptivity. With the invitation to the earth to let us know what she needs from us, individually and collectively at this time. As earthworms, so to say, wanting to serve the opening up of the old ways. And using the Brahmavihara practices for supporting us in that opening. Metta, loving kindness or benevolence connects us. And karuna, compassion, brings forth a response. And mudita, joy, celebrates the beauty and the awesomeness of what we are part of. And Ubeka, equanimity, allows the process to be what it is, evolution to be what it is. And there's 4 different facets of love, we can say, which all 4 we need. They help us to evolve and heal and learn from our mistakes and from our victories. And the first, hominids who showed up here on this planet, Homo erectus, like about a bit less than 3 million years ago. Homo habilis, actually, that was the first one. After that, Homo erectus. And just seeing ourselves as part of that long lineage. And a sense of caring for this process. And as we are caring for this process, we're becoming more and more connected with this collective self-healing mechanism, which is working through many people around the world, many pockets of sanity, little groups like ours here, who in different ways, sense that calling. And it becomes more and more, and they start to link up with each other. And the orchestra, gets stronger and stronger. And the music gets louder and louder. Because the earth wants to heal. So using, the body as an organ of listening to listen into this aliveness, vibrancy. And listening to that whisper, of the unmanifest potential of each of us, how we can bring that forth and make our contribution by walking the question and becoming the answer one step at a time. And times are urgent, we need to slow down. We need to slow down and establish that connection. Respecting the earth as our elder. Who is not our enemy, but our teacher. And you know how she wants to heal herself through each of us in particular ways, according to our skills and energy levels. And how we can participate in that amazing orchestra. And how this is an emergent process. Can't do it with the head by thinking about it, but by sitting and walking with it. And then sometimes, you know, ideas come through in spurts. And then there's the next step and the next step, and that's how it goes. Then certain doors open, certain doors close, people step up, we connect, we work together. It's an awesome, creative, emergent process. And many people have experienced it. And are experiencing it. As we are seeing impermanence working on this very huge level of paradigm shift. These huge paradigm shifts, if we look at the evolutionary timeline of how we came here, we human beings, you know. First stone tools, the first fire, beginning of language, first clothing items. So many revolutions have happened. This is another one. And it's amazing to be conscious of it. That it's just another step in this long lineage of emergence of human beings out of the earth in the true sense of the word. And sensing into the body, does that give a sense of uplift and awe or not? Is there a sense of enrichment and belonging which makes itself known when we look in this way? It's hard, to see it as a fight with an enemy, but it is much more like a attunement to what's really happening. What is it all about? Is it about us having more staff or not? I don't think so, really. It's really getting so sidetracked. And now we are waking up. It's no longer possible. The plastics are everywhere. There's no way to go anywhere where there is not microplastics. In the deepest caves, on the highest mountain tops, everywhere is microplastics raining down. It's crazy. So an old paradigm is starting to crumble and fall apart, and we support that. It needs to fall apart. It needs to make way to the new paradigm, which we can support midwifing by not suffocating it with expectations, but rather ushering it in by our love and commitment for healing, and allowing the earth to speak for herself rather than always preempting everything according to our little ego interest of having more stuff, which is dying. So breathing in the sense of connection and stability and depths of our belonging to this planet. And from that enrichment, connecting with the sense of I have enough, I can give something of myself. Doesn't need to be a material thing necessarily, but it can be. But it can also be a view, time, being okay with not knowing, being okay with walking the question. As we are honing a new skill, just like learning an instrument or driving a car, in the beginning it's extremely challenging. It gets easier and easier as it becomes, a body memory. And for now, we are also, a lot of it is to not go down those old memory lanes in our brain, but to abstain from that and cultivating new thoughts, new intentions. And that's stressful, that's a stretch. That's why we need to do it together. Stretching but not tearing. That's the art, of challenging ourselves, but not too much. And sensing this urge to evolve, to be part of that journey of the earth, which is going on since a very long time, 4.6 billion years. We can't imagine what that means. And consciously opening ourselves to anything we need to know. Is there anything we need to know? I'm gonna read one more time this text by Rainer Maria Rilke. I want to beg you, as much as I can, dear sir, to be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and to try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers, which cannot be given you because you would not be able to leave them. And the point is to leave everything. Leave the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, leave along some distant day into the answer. And that answer is not a answer with words or through the intellect, but it's a knowing with the whole being. It makes sense, cognitive and also on the level of sensing. It all fits together and makes sense as a full body experience. And there is then this sense of enrichment and the sense of being able to give and belong. And sometimes, it's challenged again and we lose it, and then we keep on listening and opening. And doing this work of metabolizing and digesting like an earthworm. We're slowly coming to the end of the sit, coming back to the body, breathing in and out, permanence, the arising and ceasing of breath, and the arising and ceasing of species, the arising and ceasing even of whole planets and solar systems. And in this way, we are part of the immune system of the planet. We're becoming the ones we have been waiting for by walking that question. And today I don't have a bell, so we can slowly, when we are ready, coming